everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, I want to read this article. It's called Modern Revelation Answers Questions of Second Coming. This is from 1996. I actually came across this as I was trying to research something else. I've only read a little bit of it, so all this pretty much is going to be new to me as I go through this, but I just thought that this would be probably a good video to go through, or a good article to go through for this video. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you end up liking it. Leave your thoughts, impressions, and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share this with anyone that you think might find this interesting. So originally, I was trying to figure this out here, okay? There's a comment from Ron Parkinson, and thank you, Ron, for the comment. In this video about Ezra Taft Benson and the generations, I had said that I had heard that there was a prophet or a general authority that said way back, like in the early part of the 20th century, that there would be those in that congregation that would be alive to see the second coming, because I had heard that before. And Ron says, if I remember correctly, it was Joseph Fielding Smith in 1936 that said someone in that congregation or alive at the time would live to see the second coming. President Nelson was 12 years old in 1936. Okay. So I've been trying to find this exact, reference. I want to find it. I want to see it. It's not that I don't believe you or anybody else that says it. I want to get it squared away, because that's kind of, it's kind of important. It's something that I would keep in my, how I view the second coming. So if you or anyone else, if you know where this is actually found, where I can find this, I would greatly appreciate it. I haven't been successful in finding this, but okay. So anyway, in searching for that, somehow this came up, and let's go through it, okay? This is by Sarah Jane Weaver, and this is Church News. It's a Church News article, the 2nd of November, 1996. Okay, let me zoom in even more. Okay. The Doctrine and Covenants is a treasure house of doctrinal understanding, truly a book of answers, said Robert L. Millett, while speaking about the second coming of Christ during the 25th annual Sidney B. Sperry Symposium, October 19th. I recognize both of these names. I think it was Robert L. Millett that did The Man Adam, I believe, and then Sidney B. Sperry, he's been quoted in the seminary manuals. Okay, so these are two people that really know what they're talking about. Brother Millett, Dean of BYU Religious Education, answered questions about the second coming during his remarks in the symposium's closing session. Following are selected responses from his presentation. What is the second coming? Quote, Jesus came to earth as a mortal being in the meridian of time. He taught the gospel, bestowed divine authority, organized the church, and suffered and died as an infinite atoning sacrifice for the sins of the world. He stated that he would come again, not as the meek and lowly Nazarene, but as the Lord of Sabaoth, or Sabaoth. I don't know how that's pronounced. In case you're not aware what this is, I pulled it up. In the Bible dictionary, it says hosts. So Sabaoth, hosts. The Lord of Sabaoth, and sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, the Lord of Sabaoth was a title of Jehovah. The host were the armies of Israel, but also included the angelic armies of heaven. So kind of like when you say the Lord of hosts, I think that this is basically kind of the same thing. Now, there's an Interpreter Foundation article about this, because in DNC 95, it says, by interpretation, the creator of the first day, the beginning and the end. So that's like the DNC definition for Sabaoth. And then they talk about how that's actually a good definition. And I'm not going to go through this, but I'll leave the link below if you want to look at that further. The Interpreter Foundation is really good. They do a lot of good scholarly work when it comes to gospel topics. Okay, back to the article. True identity. Okay, Sabaoth, the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies. His second coming is thus spoken of as his coming in glory, meaning in his true identity as the God of all creation, the Redeemer, and the Judge. Okay? So these titles, the Lord of Sabaoth, the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies, because we know that he's going to come with angels, he's going to come with us, right? Those that are quickened, caught up, the righteous that are resurrected. So that's going to be the army that comes with him. The second coming in glory is in fact the end of the world, meaning the end of worldliness. Thank goodness. That'll be amazing. The destruction of the wicked. At this coming, the wicked will be destroyed, the righteous quickened and caught up to meet him, and the earth transformed from a fallen celestial orb to a terrestrial paradisiacal sphere. We will live and move about among new heavens and new earth. The second coming will initiate the millennial reign. Will all be surprised and caught unaware? Quote, the scriptures speak of the master returning as a thief in the night. It is true that no mortal man has known, does now know, or will yet know the precise day of the Lord's second advent. This is true for prophets and apostles as well as the rank and file of society and the church. The Lord did not reveal to Joseph Smith the precise day and time of his coming. On the other hand, the saints are promised that if they are in tune with the Spirit, they can know the time and season. The Apostle Paul chose the descriptive analogy of a pregnant woman about to deliver. She may not know the exact hour or day when the birth is to take place, but one thing she knows for sure, it'll be soon. It must be soon. The impressions and feelings and signs within her own body so testify. And you guys, I think that that's the point that we're at right now. Personally, I feel like we're basically in the delivery room, and it's very, very close. Okay, continuing on. In that day, surely the saints of the Most High, the members of the body of Christ, will be pleading for the Lord to deliver the travailing earth, to bring an end to corruption and degradation, and to introduce an era of peace and righteousness. I would say that now, more than any other time, that's kind of the general feeling, certainly among you, my audience, but also just the church at large, especially those that are in tune with the Spirit. Like, it's hard to deal with all the corruption and degradation. You see it everywhere, in media, in society, when you go to school, go to work, whatever, you watch YouTube. It's all over the place. And it wasn't like this back in the 90s. I mean, you know, kind of somewhat, but you go back and you watch those movies, watch those TV shows, they were so much more wholesome. You know, you think about like Full House and stuff like that, Home Improvement. There were so many good ones. And they had like some like bad stuff in them, but nothing like today. So that by itself is a sign of the times. All right, continuing on. And those who give heed to the words of Scripture, and especially to the living oracles, will stand as the children of light and the children of the day. Those who whore not of the night nor of darkness. In modern revelation, the Savior declared, and again, verily I say unto you, the coming of the Lord draweth nigh, and it overtaketh the world as a thief in the night. Therefore, gird up your loins, that ye may be the children of light, that the day shall not overtake you as a thief. And I think that's why most of you are on this channel, because you've been searching. You're listening to other people. You're in Facebook groups and doing everything that you can to watch. You know, Watcher Palmer, he calls it a community of watchers. And there's many other Christians, not even in our church, that are aware of what's going on, and they're watching, and they're not going to be caught unprepared. When it happens, they're going to be very well ready for it. And sadly, both within our own church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and also other Christian churches, there are portions of the membership, regardless of what church you're in, that just are blissfully unaware. They don't care. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to know about it. They just want to keep living life, and actually talking about the quote-unquote end of the world is not a pleasant thought for them, because it's going to interrupt their comfortable lives that they're living. All right, let's continue. What happens to those living on earth when he comes? Answer: those who are of at least a terrestrial level of righteousness shall continue to live as mortals after the Lord returns. The saints shall live to the age of a man, in the words of Isaiah, the age of 100, and will pass through death and be changed instantly from mortality to resurrected immortality. Yea, and blessed are the dead that die in the Lord, when the Lord shall come, and old things shall pass away, and all things become new. They shall rise from the dead, and shall not die after, and shall receive an inheritance before the Lord in the holy city. And he that liveth when the Lord shall come, and hath kept the faith, blessed is he. Nevertheless, it is appointed to him to die at the age of man. Wherefore children shall grow up until they become old. That is, no longer shall little ones die before the time of accountability. Old men shall die, but they shall not sleep in the dust, but they shall be changed in the twinkling of an eye. So so that's an interesting concept. Wherefore children shall grow up until they become old. That is, no longer shall little ones die before the time of accountability. So that's one thing I haven't really understood, because I don't, like, are you still able to die because you're still in a mortal state, right? Are you still able to die because of an accident, like if you get crushed by something? Excuse me, because obviously if you're resurrected, no, you can't die because you're now resurrected. But if you are translated, right, if you're quickened and you're in this terrestrial state, can you still die by accidents? We know that there's not going to be any like murders going on because everyone's going to be of a terrestrial order. There's not going to be stuff like that. But excuse me. And I would assume that there's not really going to be disease. I'm not sure. Oh, you know what? It's talking about that here in this. Okay, let me read on. President Joseph Fielding Smith pointed out that the inhabitants of the earth will have a sort of translation. They'll be transferred to a condition of the terrestrial order, and so they will have power over. Oh, there you go. They'll have power over disease, and they will have power to live until they get a certain age, and then they will die. So maybe there won't be accidents that could kill you. With the Earth being in a paradisiacal state, I wouldn't think that there'd be much that could kill you. I'm not even sure about really the topography of the land, because it sounds like everything's going to become smooth, that there's not going to be mountains or valleys. So I don't know if there's going to be places that you can fall from to your to your death as a translated being. But anyway, this is why this actually came up in my research, because I was looking for Joseph Fielding Smith talking about the second coming. So this is why it showed up in my search. And I'm glad that it did, because this is already a pretty good article. Okay, so in my mind, I think I'm just going to go with no one's going to die by accident or disease or anything like that. You're just going to live until you're old. So I'm not sure why he said up here, no longer shall little ones die before the time of accountability. Because yes, that's true, but it sounds like everyone's just going to live until they're old. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, question. When does the millennium begin? Why will it begin? Answer: the second coming is the glory of Jesus Christ. The second coming in the glory of Jesus Christ ushers in the millennium. So that's what starts the millennium, Jesus Christ coming in glory. The millennium does not begin when Christ comes to his temple in Missouri, when he appears at Adamondite Ammon, or when he stands on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. The millennium will not come because men and women on earth have become noble and good, because of Christian charity will have spread across the globe and goodwill in the order of the day. The millennium will not come because technological advances and medical miracles will have extended human life, or because peace treaties among warring nations will have soothed injured feelings and eased political tensions for a time. The millennium will be brought in by the power of him who is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Satan will be bound by power, and the glory of the millennium will be maintained by the righteousness of those who are permitted to live on the earth. Okay. Going back up here, he's talking about Christ coming to the temple in Missouri. So there you go. Like that seems to be more evidence that that New Jerusalem really will be built in Jackson County, or when I say that, I mean the center place will be there. Now, as far as Christ coming to the temple, I'm not really getting so much that feeling from what's going on with General Conference. We've talked about this many times on the channel. I tend to think that, now, what he's saying here is not prophetic. It's based on his studies, and he is a smart man, obviously. He's a dean. But even so, he may not have everything 100% right. And this is one of those things where it makes sense that Christ would come to New Jerusalem, to his temple, the center place in Missouri. But the way that things are going right now, I'm not so sure that that's the case. And I tend to kind of think that he's going to come to the Salt Lake Temple, because currently, right now, the center place, if there was one, is in Salt Lake. You know, because if we had a temple built in Missouri, it's already so unlikely right now, it would seem anyway, that it would kind of like it'd be a warning to everybody. Everyone would suddenly wake up and be like, oh shoot, there's a temple in Missouri. Of course, I don't know, maybe the people that are currently sleeping would continue to sleep even if we did have a temple in Missouri. But that's why it's like things like this that make me not think that it's going to happen. Because, like, say, okay, when we're talking about the 10 lost tribes, right? The people that think that they're in some exotic location, the center of the earth, or in a cave, or in space. The thing about it is that if they miraculously came, suddenly it'd be so dramatic. The whole world would be so stunned at their appearance that suddenly so many people would look at the church and be like, oh, you know what? You guys were right the whole time. Okay, you guys are the true church. And I don't think that that would happen. Also, anything that would tip us off to the timing of the second coming. So one of the things that people look at are the two witnesses that are going to be prophesying in Jerusalem for 3.5 years. I'm not so sure about that time frame. We did a video about the meaning of 3.5, which to the Jews it means a time when how was it worded? That heathen are in the temple. It's another way of saying apostasy. So the thing is, you guys, is that if we found out today that Elder Bednar and Elder Christofferson were in Israel and that their focus was now on Israel and Jerusalem, then we would be able to mark it on a calendar and be like, okay, you guys, 3.5 years, count it. And then they should die around, October of this year. And then once they die 3.5 days later, then we're going to have the second coming. Right? That doesn't really make sense, does it? It wouldn't make sense that the Lord would give us that accurate of a way to watch it. Now, I know that it says that the two witnesses are going to be doing their thing for 3.5 years. So in my mind, either we're not going to know when they start, because I don't think it's in the Lord's interest to just give that away, because he wants everybody to come to him without this kind of proof or things like that. He wants us to come to him by natural means usually. And then usually when there's those that are hard of heart, sometimes he will have calamities happen for their own good to humble them. But in terms of like, uh, for example, the Book of Mormon, the gold plates were taken away. They could have stayed here, and then that would have been the proof that everybody needed, like, oh my gosh, it's real. But that's not how the Lord works. And so things like this, like the temple being built in Missouri, yes, it could happen. And I don't know, maybe it could happen really quick. But I feel like that'd be too much of a giveaway to everybody. It would kind of like rob people of their faith in a sense. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe this year the Church of Christ temple lot is going to be like, you know what? Let's just sell it to them. Let's just sell them the temple lot. Who knows? Anything could happen. So I'm not like ruling it out altogether. I'm just saying. I think it's a possibility that Christ could come to the Salt Lake Temple because that's the temporary center place of the church. Okay, all right, let's move on. The millennium will be brought... Okay, we already heard that. Okay, question. The church warns of false Christ and false prophets. How can we know whom to trust? Where do we turn for more insight? Answer. We must keep our eyes fixed on those in charge, those charged with the direction of this church, the prophets, seers, and revelators of our day. What they stress in their instruction to us should be what we stress. Well said. And I feel like, there's a lot of people kind of not doing that. That's been the talk lately of where can we go for truth? Where does truth come from? Because there's a lot of confusion in the world. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of battling ideas and ideologies. So look to the prophet. Look to the apostles, right? They're not going to lead us astray. And notice here how he's not talking about a singular Antichrist, because this is an idea that has popped up, it seems like, with the Latter-day Saints. Maybe not the majority. I don't think the majority do think that there's a singular Antichrist, but this is like a popular belief with other Christian churches, and it seems to be something that a certain segment of our church is kind of like held onto. I've done plenty of videos about that as well, and I think the closest that you're going to come to an Antichrist, like a singular Antichrist, is the Great and Abominable Church. And I have my theories about that, but just notice he doesn't talk about a singular Antichrist. Okay, so we need to stress what they stress. Any who come before the saints claiming some special insight, gift, training, or commission to elucidate detail concerning the signs of the times beyond that which the brethren have set forth is suspect, and is running before his or her file leaders. Their teachings are not to be trusted or received. And I think that this is the danger of going to other Christian churches. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think that we have a 100% claim to all truth. But I think that we need to be careful when we go to other churches for their interpretations of the second coming and their timelines, because like I pointed out before, they don't have the Joseph Smith translation. They don't have modern revelation. They don't have our scriptures, or at least not all of them. So, yeah. Okay. And then also, even within our own church, like our primary, who we should really listen to is the prophets and the apostles. That's the benefit that we get from them. They're there to guide us. It's great to do YouTube channels like this, but I think it's okay to speculate, but we shouldn't become rigid and entrenched in these theories, because unless the brethren are talking about it and it's being repeated multiple times, it makes me think of that quote that truth, like important gospel truths, are not found in obscure paragraphs of talks from the 1800s. Okay, like the doctrine of the church is repeated by many people, and it's based on the scriptures, and it's not just like one person's guesswork, right? So we know, for example, that Adam Andai Amen is a real thing because it's been repeated many times. It's in the scriptures. We know that being caught up is a real thing because it's been talked about in general conference and it's in the scriptures and it's been said by multiple people. So that's what we need to focus on. It's okay to have theories, but I don't think that we should like stick to them as truth unless it's repeated by many different general authorities, and you can find it within the authorized, sources of information of the church. Okay, with the exception of those few deluded persons who claim to be. Sorry, I wasn't ready for that. with the exception of those few okay. So I watched this show called Community. It's probably not the most wholesome show, but it's like it actually has like good witty humor. Anyway, Community. It was a TV show. I think it was on NBC. I'm not sure, but it's like about a community college. And we just watched an episode like about a week ago, and there was this guy that he was like hitchhiking, and he had a guitar, and so the characters pick him up, and he claims to be Jesus, and then they end up kicking him out because he just keeps getting crazier and crazier with like things that he's saying. Sorry. Anyway. Okay, you can do this. With the exception of those few deluded persons who claim to be Jesus, when we speak of false Christ, when we speak of false Christ, we speak not so much of individuals as of false spirits, false doctrines, false systems of salvation. Latter-day Saints who stick with the brethren, who study and teach from the conference reports, the official pronouncements and proclamations, and the monthly First Presidency message and the ensign. These are they who treasure up the word of the Lord, who will not be deceived or led astray at the last day. And like I said, I've talked about this before, how the analogy of how the second coming is exciting. It's exciting to talk about. But just like Star Wars, when you had the original trilogy, there was that gap of time when basically Star Wars was done for all anybody knew. And so they allowed fans to essentially create fan fiction that went along with the Star Wars universe, and George Lucas gave it his blessing that, okay, cool, yeah, this is canon for the Star Wars universe. Well, I feel like there tends to be, the expanded universe of the gospel when it comes to all these theories that start to get really far out there. And I'm sorry if the idea that the 10 lost tribes became advanced and then left planet Earth and they're in space somewhere, that they've inhabited some other planet, and then they're going to come back with their technology and destroy the armies of the Earth and save us in a miraculous way. I'm sorry, but I view that as the gospel expanded universe. But in this case, instead of the expanded universe having the blessing of the Lord or the prophet, it doesn't. Okay? It doesn't. And it's funny because what happened with Star Wars is, okay, so there was this time where we had the expanded universe, but then after that, George Lucas made his prequels, so everything was still okay. But then when Disney bought the rights to the Star Wars universe, you know what they did? They threw it all out the window, and there were so many books and comics and all these things, and everybody was really mad because so much time and effort went into this expanded universe. But those who rightly own the rights to Star Wars, threw it in the garbage. Because, of course, they're not going to stick to that. They're going to tell their own story. It's probably not the best analogy, but you get what I'm saying. I think that when the second coming actually happens, a lot of this expanded universe of the gospel is just going to... it's going to go up in flames with everything else. No pun intended. So, okay, so let's move on. Okay. That we follow the brethren... that we will be wise, receive the truth, take the Holy Spirit for our guide, and thereby have our lamps filled is my prayer. And it looks like that's the end. That's the end of the article. Okay, so just a nice little article to go through. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. I don't think that we can talk enough about the second coming, especially since it's like basically upon us. And we're all excited. We want to. It's not that we want to see the wicked destroyed or anything like that. We're not looking forward to the bad things, but we're looking forward to the amazing world that we're going to live in once this happens. We're going to have ancestors that we're going to reunite with, and ancestors that we never knew. We're going to, reunite with them. They're going to know us. We're going to know them, and it's going to be amazing. There's going to be peace. There's probably not going to be a need anymore to even lock your doors, right? You could leave your keys or leave your wallet somewhere and anywhere. You could probably just leave it, in a store. I don't know how things are going to be like during the millennium, but you get what I'm saying. It's going to be incredible, and I think that there's going to be things that happen during the millennium that we just never even thought about, just because of the nature of the world that we currently live in. Whereas when we get into the millennium, it's going to be so much better. It's going to be so much better. Okay, that's all I have for this one. So hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it. Make sure to leave all your thoughts, all your opinions, anything that you want to share in the comments below. Also, make sure to share this with anyone that you think might find this interesting. And I'll talk to you guys later.